Hello, episode 124. Welcome, everybody. Good to be with you. I have a powerful guest, a new friend of mine, Elisa, from that we met at the Archaics event in Houston. And yeah, I was on her channel recently, the Rebel Crone. So I want to introduce those of you that don't know her. Welcome, Elisa. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Joel, so much for having me on your channel. I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah, cool. Of course. So glad that we got to meet up and spend some quality time together and just really enjoyed that we have similar languaging and that we can go deep into all the different subjects. So yeah, why don't you share with us what your channel's about and kind of what led you to share in the way that you are and how you came to find Archaics and what your journey's been like up till today.
Oh, that's just a small ask.
Great.
Basically, my life story.
Yeah, just talk
Within
about
how much time? No.
90 seconds. No, I'm just kidding. As long as you want. We got it. We
Oh,
got some time
you're
together.
so kind. You're so kind. Well, let's start with the Rebel Crone because it's really what's going on now that's our place of power, right? And then we can fill in whatever needs to be filled in, how I got to the now. But the Rebel Crone was a vision that came about a year and a half ago when I was working with my mystic mentor, Elizabeth Seraphine, who has the Priestess Path Lineages of Light. And it was a year-long apprenticeship. It was me and four other women. And it was just a really intense, beautiful experience. And through that, every time we move to another level in our life, in our consciousness, in our vibration, however you want to phrase that, but every time we move to another level, there's new things open to us, right? And it's like we reinvent ourselves and we find a new pathway for our purpose. So really through that experience is I came to a new pathway in purpose. I had uh, I think reinventing myself, let me just couch this a little bit before. As I've gotten older, I've really enjoyed the process of reinventing myself in that bringing in new things and trying new things. At 48, I became a ski patroller of all things. My dad was one. It was something I dreamed of as a child. I was like, okay, if I'm ever going to do it, my God, this is the time to do it. And this was up in the high Sierra Mountains, and this was in a very challenging physical and experience for me and dealing with fear and being like way over my head on stuff, but rising to the occasion, doing it, graduating top of my class, which was all young men, you know, that was like a big stepping thing. And then at my late 50s, I decided to write a book. So I wrote a metaphysical adventure, a fictional book. It won quite a few awards. I'm very proud of it. And I just got finished with the part two of it. This, I've never had any skills as a writer. I had zero training, but the message came through and I was like, okay, I'll do it. So when the message came through about making my voice known, about speaking out, is I've come into my wisdom years. That was the new message that came through. And it was exciting and it was also terrifying, to sit in front of a camera and I'm going to make videos and what am I going to talk about? Who's going to want to listen to me? I mean, who am I? And it was just all those fundamental challenges we really have at our core, our worthiness and, our right to just say our truth. I think it's for men and women, but for women it has a particular flavor
Sure.
on it. So when the message came through, it's like, I really feel like I'm in a position, I'm 64 now. I'm in a position at this age, it's time for me to speak. And it's time for me to help other women in particular because as we get older, society wants to say, thank you very much, exit stage left, go play pickleball and you're done. Nothing wrong with pickleball, but, or retire. I mean, what is retirement? What are you retiring from? What you may be tired, but that's a different matter. But what's this all about? And especially for women, there's so much stigma on that and reverence for beauty and youth, I say the beauty of youth,
Sure.
and the beauty of youth is not really a woman.
Right.
You look at your models and stuff, they're teenagers
Yep.
or they're early 20-year-olds. Your brain doesn't even fully develop till you're 25. That's the beginning of a whole other journey of coming into adulthood. So why are we putting these images and these altered images of very young, beautiful girls as our pinnacle of what a woman is? So I thought, well, I'm a pretty good example. I've taken care of myself on all levels. I feel like I really claim my cronehood. I claim my wisdom, and so I get it. I'm perched and placed in a unique position of being able to talk about things, talk about the things I've been through, my journey and how I've gotten to where I am, and to elevate other women to speak up. Because no matter what, Joel, I mean, we know that the world is we are at the pinnacle of a change. So things are getting very messy, but they will eventually open up into a different reality for those who are ready to walk into that. Um, so through the Rebel Crone, it's really my such joy to me to highlight other women and say you're needed now. Your voice is needed now. Men's voice is needed too. It's just not my journey. I'm not a man this time, clearly. And so we all, as we get older and wiser, we need to speak up and be true to our calling, true to our wisdom, and especially for women. We talk about the great arising of the feminine, and this is it's happening. But what does that look like? I mean, maybe we can dive into that together a little bit. But what is feminine power? And I dare say that we really do not have many at all examples of what feminine power really is. We look in our world, we have wounded patriarchy. And
Yeah.
that's Rachel and I, our beautiful interview. I interviewed Joel's partner the other day. Fabulous woman. Maybe not technically a crone, but a woman in her wisdom and is claiming it and is sharing it. And it was just an amazing, powerful conversation. But yeah, so it's like, all right, if I can do this, then here it is. Here's the microphone I'm creating. You talk. What is your wisdom? What do you have to say? So I'm giving women that platform, raising up the sisterhood, and especially older women, so that we can help the other ones. We can help younger women, as they grow up, because younger women we all need the influence of our elders. So I'm just claiming my elderhood. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wow. What a powerful gift. I'm so glad you said yes and probably couldn't say no. It was really strong for you to do this work and here you are, right? So it's so many people will heal in the process of you healing yourself because you're allowing it to be accessed. You're not just keeping it private. And that takes a lot of courage. It is intense. I always planned on being private because I saw what happens to people when they put themselves out there. There's challenges that are increased, different energetic dynamics occur, but it's also such a breakthrough to be of service. And the energy that comes in from the universe through being of service, it just makes it possible for our cups to be overflowing enough to be able to continue. But it's always a dance. And yeah, I'm glad you brought up the transition we're in and that the feminine is rising and that's what I'm witnessing by being married to Rachel. I'm learning so much from her process and the women that she seeks out as counsel, and then I work with those women too, and we're just inside of the shadow work as a means to know what's really going on the subconscious. And most people don't want to do that, and often more than often it's men that don't want to do that. It's very confronting for men to get to their wound, to their pain, to their emotional self. But women having that capacity or have the potential to teach men something really important, that if they could humble themselves enough to realize that women can teach us so much, especially in this time, because we're going to be switching out of that, you know, old system and moving into our intuition. Even for men, they're going to have to learn about their feminine side, as a means to navigate the intensity of these changes that we're observing in ourselves and in the collective. Otherwise, they're going to become bitter or resentful or confused around not
Or
know.
lost, they'll be left behind.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, you get left behind, and there's not a right and wrong with that. It's just what do you choose? What do you want for yourself? And can I just offer, Joel, for men listening, if intuition is something that's just kind of a little baffling to you, one of the first things you can do is observe it in the women you know.
Yeah.
Observe it and honor it in them and watch it and watch how it works, because women are incredible teachers in that. And it takes time. It's not because you're born in a female body that bam, you have intuition and you honor it. I've spent a life of having, I like to talking, you have your two little, your little angel and your little devil on each shoulder. I hate to use those terms, but we have like a positive and we have a shadow and a light side offering us suggestions. So throughout my life, I've always been aware of that dialogue, as most of us are. What am I going to choose to do? When I was younger, I was very headstrong, like most people are, and I would choose what I want to choose besides what those voices were saying. So when the
Sure.
thing didn't work out that I chose, I never could honestly get upset by it because it's like I knew better. I had a voice telling me, you might want to think about that a little bit more, or maybe not, maybe not now, whatever, but so it's taken a many, many years for me to just like start listening and saying, okay, I trust you. I trust that voice, and I'm going to go with that voice. And then the magic of intuition starts opening up. And it's just, I mean, it's just amazing. Like a little thought will come in my mind, and that thought is like there for a reason when it pops in. And sure enough, it's because that happens a moment later, or that happens. And it's like it's just beautiful web of light and shadows all woven together that you just knowing stuff and being in touch with your intuition is how could we say that it's like a not just a context for living, but it's a guidance system. It's your guidance system. And men and women, I don't know how it lands through men, and maybe you can speak of this more, Joel. It probably has a different flavor than women, but it's basically you have a guidance system in you. You got a buddy in you that loves you. And it's out for the best and the highest of your growth. It may mean some uncomfortable things, it may mean a little pain and whatever, but you follow that and you just start skyrocketing your progression through your incarnation.
Beautifully said. Yeah. Yeah. I think men and women both have these voices, the soft voice and the hard voice. And men learn to eventually hear the soft voice, just like women might be able to hear the soft voice. But it might be harder for men to get to that softer voice because they're shaped in a, their design is to be driven and to go after their knowledge and to stand on the top of their pyramid and say, I've achieved who I am. And women are designed this way, where they're open and always have been. But so many women are trying to do this as a means to be okay within this patriarch. And so now women are being asked to make this return, and even men are being asked to come out of this as a means to understand what it would be like just even in have the perceptual capacity. So I think for both men and women, we're both getting our chakras purified as a means to get into our intuition. And I think so many people are trying to live in their upper chakras and avoid the shadow, and therefore are missing out on the deepest intuition that comes. Because if you're pushing past your pain and you don't know how to go into it, then it's going to surprise you. It's going to come out of left field. I've seen celibacy and all these things backfire really bad because people were skipping over their wound and trying to live in these upper layers. And then there's people that only live in the lower, they have no interest in raising their vibration, and they're experiencing like just kind of a real self-destructive process in their life, by just draining themselves of their vital essence through whatever addiction they have, right? And so uh, we are all capable of learning to quiet the hard voice, and it will be less influential on our being. And then that soft voice will become something we can really work with. But it does require some emotional maturity to get to that voice, because even really gifted people think that they are free because they're having such an amazing life, but the program will adjust itself. It will always trick you every step of the way if you're not paying attention to how this place operates. And so we need women to speak to their men and have their voice heard in this, that hey, look what's coming. Like, you're not looking. You're in your, you're in an illusion and it's going to get you. So really having Rachel call me out a lot on everything and anything, it's very like, okay, wow, she's recognizing the danger of all of, what could happen if I continue to grow and have more and more people listening to me. There's dynamics that shift within why are you doing it and what it's for, and really getting to know where my wound is so that I don't end up, in an illusion of grandeur of any kind, or that I don't end up, doing something that would damage my relationship to source and or to her, right? So these are really fragile things, and it's kind of like ghost of Christmas past, future, and present. We want to get to know the non-linear so that we're in an awareness of what we might be, like, so that we aren't reckless with decisions.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, Joe. I couldn't agree more with that. It's just interesting that not interesting. It's very sad, and it's part of the divine tragedy comedy that we're playing out right now, that we're not given a playbook. The playbook was taken away from humanity on how to be a human,
Mm.
how to drive this vehicle, what this vehicle is composed of, all the different aspects, the chakra system, the higher connections, the lower connections, the horizontal, the vertical. We're at that cross point, right in the beautiful, perfect now, we're at that cross point, and we don't know how to drive that. Now, luckily, a lot of information is coming through. We have a lot of the horizontal, like I call the horizontal lineage keepers, that have
Mm.
kept like these ancient traditions and all this beautiful wisdom in place. But what's weaving in right now is the wisdom that's needed nowadays, is because we're a different human, we're a different avatar, if you want to say, physically, and just our whole makeup is different than the human, 100 years ago, 200 years ago. We're just wired differently. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a perfect thing because we're wired more and more to accommodate and to be in the higher vibrations, and for this transition. I mean, we look at kids now that grow up with technology. You and I, we grew up like when we had like rotary phones, you know, it's like, and TV, black and white. And so to see where it is now and what kids have at their fingertips, I mean, they're just wired differently. But there's the fundamental wiring of being a human, like you're saying. And I loved when we spoke and you explained about the beautiful feminine, the vessel of reception, and then also the containment, and or just say the drawing together of the energies and moving them forward in the masculine. And that's all within us too. And we spoke a lot about that, and that's part of the playbook, right? Is that you have these different aspects, and everybody in their own measure, but we have to learn that balance. And I'm telling you what, like, people think, oh, I want to be a male warrior. I mean, women can like say, oh, how bad we've had it, but men, it's like almost more insidious in a way, because they've had been in the power positions. So I think the distortions have been trickier. They've been more hidden because they think I'm going to get my big muscles. I'm going to learn how to fight. I'm not going to take crap from anybody,
Right.
because I'm a warrior, but they
Mhm.
don't know that that's not the war. The war's
Right.
not out there. The real battles that we have to fight is within us. And that's where the male warrior and the female warrior, we come out of, is through that battleground. And that can be that's intense work. When I was doing my mentorship with Elizabeth, there was a point towards the end when I came up, and I've done shadow work off and on for like years, and there's always more to it.
Yeah.
And there was just this old wound that came up. It was so intense. It knocked me out. In fact, this is how bad it knocked me out, Joel, because I was really in like resistance with it, but I couldn't find my way through it. And it turns out that it was an ancestral thing. It was a lineage thing. So it had a lot of wallop to it. But I
Mm.
was just kind of in my with it. I was up at the ski area. My partner and I still love to go skiing. And I was walking on the deck, the wood deck in my ski boots, and my feet went out from under me. I landed so hard on my left side, I dislocated my shoulder and cut and broke my arm right in half. And the minute I hit the ground, I was like, whoa, whoa, I brought that one on. You
Mm.
know, I really brought that one on. It stopped me cold in my tracks. And it was just like, this is like, I got to figure this out. And, you know, so even I can say, like, oh, I'm in my wisdom years, all this and that, but man, I can get bit. But the challenge, like what you're saying, Joe, when you take on more responsibility, it's like I'm going to help people and I'm going to let my voice come out there. You're asking more power to come to you, and you're responsible for that power. You know, and for me, that was just a lot of power coming through. And man, it just like I got slapped down from that. That was a big slap down. You know, that was like 9 months of hard work to bring my arm back into function. I laugh now. It wasn't fun at all. But the first thing I had to do is I had to figure out what vibrationally, what was going on, what that shadow was, and
Sure.
and stare it down. So I just wanted to share that as far as like a story that we're not above and beyond that, but it does get bigger, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, and then everything happens for a reason. That needed to happen. That was part of your rite of passage, is so that you could, be able to support people who go through really difficult things. The stronger I get, the more difficult stories come to me, the more pain I learn to hold space for, and then I experience that pain with them because I've become so sensitive, right? So then I have to learn how to take care of myself in a new way each time, really, because it gets stronger. My capacity it changes, and that's we're here to like I don't think people want to reach a place where the challenges stop, but they actually increase. It's just that you start walking toward them with awareness, and then they're not problems, they're just worthy challenges that are appropriate to your medicine, right? So had you not taken the calling to do this work, your medicine, according to my elders, would turn on you as a means to reflect to you that you're out of balance, you're not listening to what spirit wants you to do. And it's not like a mean father in the clouds that's like, I'm judging you, this Christian stuff. It's really a beautiful guidance system that is available to each person. And we are here to discover our purpose. And when we accept that assignment, then the signs, this assignment and the signs, right? The omens, they get really clear. The synchronicities get very aligned, and you realize you're in a magical world. You're being worked with and supported, even when you have an accident of that nature, a car accident, all kinds of things. I know people they were just well on their way to a materialistic, comfortable life, and then boom, they just get hit blindsided and spending decades trying to get back to being functional. But in that journey, they find spirit. They get they get taken out of that rat race and be forced to go inward. And like you were
Yeah,
saying, so many people are trying to get strong as a means to protect themselves. But in Aikido, what we learn is the enemy is within. It's been placed inside of us. Well, there's a foreign installation that found its way to convince us that our that its thoughts are our own. And until we learn to notice the difference, then we'll be being controlled. Even really gifted truthers are still unaware that they're being controlled. And until everyone can recognize how this place works, we're going to see people that gain power are going to end up falling for one of the three, especially men. Sex, money, or power are the three things that are presented to men at a certain point. And women, it's the same thing. It's just from a different way in which that happens, where maybe the opposite, but in the same subjects. So yeah, there's just so many opportunities and challenges ahead. But when we're not thinking that the challenges would go away, we become we gain the tools and we invite the development. We're seeking awareness, and the challenges suit us perfectly.
I love how you said that the challenges suit us perfectly. We're not given more than what we can handle because we're in a vibrational container,
Yeah.
and we're not going to have challenges out there that's like higher and bigger and more intense because we're not there. And
No,
we're not going to have the easy low the other ones we had as we were coming into this place. They'll be perfect for where we are, even though sometimes it feels like, oh my God, it's just it pushes the envelope. I have to
totally.
say that for all your beloveds that follow you, and you think, oh, Joel, you're just like life must just be pure magic all the time. Well, yeah, but with that pure magic, there is real challenges, like real
Yeah.
challenges. The challenges magnify the more energy that you're working with, but there's a humbleness that comes with it, and maybe that's part of the thing that gets lost sometimes with people when they start getting too much power coming in. Um, because but so they get humbled, right? We see that. We see, people falling off their pedestals, all the time, especially lately. I've been seeing quite a bit of that in all different, sectors of the planet. And it's a perfect thing. Either the person like gets it, they brush themselves off, forgive themselves for it and carry on, or, they don't. And then, you know,
Yeah.
you got other consequences there.
Oh,
Yeah, it's just the stakes just get higher the more work we do. And it doesn't mean even if you're not administering to other people, it's still within you, the
yeah.
stakes get higher. So for me, it's like this, like that fall, that accident, that was very humbling. Because I'm thinking, oh, I'm just getting done with my apprenticeship and I'm launching this and I'm doing that and blah blah blah. And boom, there's a big smackdown. But I have to say, in my recovery, I launched Rebel Crone. I got on the other side of it, and that's when I launched it, was with, one on wonder here, you know. But I want to add a little anecdotal thing there too. When I launched the Rebel Crone, before I could do my first videos, there was such an uproar, and maybe that's the hard voice. I don't know quite how you do it, of how I can't do it, why I
Yeah.
can't do it, all that
Yeah.
stuff. So I reprogrammed myself. I took my phone, got my little ear things, and I have this a app on there called Breathe, and it's got all kinds of like binaural,
Yeah.
sounds. It's got meditations, and I just played over and over all these ones. It was a different voice. It was like the soft, beautiful voice of how powerful and wonderful and strong, and I can do it, and I can all. You think like cheesy stuff, but it's power stuff, like power words. And so I would like go to bed with those on. I'd wake up, I'd listen to that during the day if I had a moment. And I did that for a few weeks. And I just changed. Like I turned that frequency off. I turned a new station on. It's like I'm listening to that, listening to that. And I just pumped myself up. And it wasn't, I used a stinking app to help me with it. And then afterwards, then I got in my groove with it and it was good. And I could remind myself when those things came up. But that was some hoops to jump through, is my own internal, doubting Thomas there, that I didn't have what it takes. So I'm just saying that full permission that technology it's not always the bad guy. We can use it to our advantage.
Yeah, please think that's so important. I think a lot of people are at odds with the world as it is. And Don Juan, one of his famous quotes was, "Be of your time." Right? So all these traditional natives trying to uphold old systems and not let anything come in, it's just not flexible and adaptable. And if we're in fear of the wireless technology and we're always avoiding, those places and we get very sensitive to these things, which, I'm not saying some people do need to go live in the woods away from it for a period of time because of how effective they are, but there is a way to adapt and realize that you're made of pure energy. And this is an emotional healing thing that leads to you not being so vulnerable to all the stuff. But yeah, coming out of this idea that we have to do it the way it used to be done, it just won't work because we're so different now. We are cyborgs in a sense. We are interacting with technology that gives us information instantly. That's very different. that doesn't mean we can't still interact in the realm of silent knowledge while interacting with all these systems.
Absolutely. It's not going to go away. Beginning of the year, I did a video on AI and I
Yeah.
never posted it because I didn't feel like I hit the mark with it. Anytime I do a video, like if I'm going to post it, it has to hit the mark for me. The
Mhm.
little bell, I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's got that little bell's got to go off. It's like, yeah, that was the message. But it wasn't. And I sat on it for like months and months. And then I redid it a few weeks back. And it's called AI versus II, which is innate or infinite intelligence. And I just didn't have some pieces together in my own consciousness when I put it together. And basically, when I started, it was just like, you know what? Because I found I was having resistance to AI and I was having energy about it, and it was just not the right place. So the round that I did publish, it was, you know what? AI is here to stay. Ain't dang thing you can do about it. This
Mhm.
is the new wave of the future is human interaction with AI. So how are you going to interact with it? Do you understand what it really is? Do you understand this is a man-made quantum field of mind matter,
Mhm.
mankind's mind matter, as opposed to the infinite intelligence, infinite, big, infinite, that's ever growing and expanding, that's connected to the invisible realms of the divine realms. So just know what you're tapping into and which one and for what reason. So you don't want to be a slave to the machinations of men or to humanity's, mind field. You don't want to be, but there's things you can use it for. I've used it in my little Canva program, designing things. I was doing some uh, thumbnails and stuff for Archaics, and I put in the little Phoenix runner, and these beautiful AI things came out in a flash. Where if I had the skills in Photoshop to do it, it would have taken
Yeah.
weeks to do. That's kind of cool, but I'm not saying that's artwork. I'm not saying that's like I'm not when I write. It is all me. There's not a single AI like thought or anything. Sometimes I
Yeah.
might have to like a word I'm using or a historic detail, I'll look up online just to make sure I'm research a little to make sure I'm saying it right or using it in the right context. But I certainly will never let AI come into my sovereign process with
Yeah.
with the infinite intelligence. That's where our intuition comes. That's our creativity. We are fundamentally creative beings. And if you have AI do it, you start atrophying. The fundamental part of you atrophies. And I think that's the big warning there. Use it for stuff like if you're researching, if you're an attorney and you need to research okay stuff like this or go through a lot of data. Oh, great, use it, save time. But just, be wise to what it is. And so I think that plays into what you're saying is be of our times,
Yeah.
and not be afraid of it, but don't be stupid about it,
Mhm.
and don't follow, don't get hooked right in um, to
Yeah.
the shimmer of the promise of what it's going to do for you.
Oh, yeah, well said. It's I am recommending to some clients that they stop talking to this to the AI as a therapist. A lot of people are using it that way.
Oh, that just sends shivers up my spine. I don't know. I don't know anything about it. I've never spoken to AI. And
Yeah.
it's one of my things. I don't want that interaction in my world. That's me,
Yeah.
but the therapy thing and any kind of spiritual thing, which therapy is spiritual, is
Yeah.
fundamentally that, yeah,
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. They've chosen
mm,
in that process. I'm inviting them to talk to the trees instead.
yeah.
Like there's trees. They're out there. Just go sit with a tree. And it's way more intelligent than we are actually at this point. So that was one of the things like Elon Musk said, we need AI because it's going to be similar. We need to download AI into our being because, it would be similar to a human talking to a tree without that thing. But what he doesn't realize is the tree is communicating. The tree is consciousness. And so they're in this world of very limited understanding and they're making major decisions based on that limited understanding. And so we get to be inside of that intense process in which that will backfire on for the majority of people that allow this transhumanism to, sweep them away from their natural relationship to source. It's terrifying, but it's perfectly designed as a means to kind of give people that test of like, where are you at within this journey? And similar to 2020, that was kind of the test of whether the spiritual communities were actually psychic or not. And a lot of them turned out to be not seeing, they weren't seers like they claimed to be. And so we're in a unique time where, I think it's important that we are aware of that, that we honor the people that saw through the deception and that we recognize that we can't really trust people who couldn't just see the deception. And it's just making it easier to discern what voices to take on in this and who to listen to and who to talk to.
And I think the biggest thing with that, Joel, is just go easy on ourselves because we can only know what we can know. But if there's something you can know, and if the information comes to you through meeting somebody or listening to somebody, it's
Yeah.
coming to you for a reason. But if you don't know it, you don't know. And then when you finally do, it's like say, be grateful that it's dawning. Don't judge yourself in your past
Yeah.
decisions.
Yeah.
Be in the moment. That okay, I get it now. There's always I gets it. We when we pass through this life and we get into back into our multi-dimensionality and we are traveling and doing all of our other beautiful things in other realms, it's always expansion. It's always, oh, it's a new I get it. Oh, it's
Yeah.
like that one that's never gonna stop that journey. It just seemed to be it's just a little rough on this planet, this vibration.
Absolutely. No, it's so liberating to suspend judgment and to understand where everyone is coming from and what kind of fear they have, and therefore how that fear can be utilized against them as a means to, you know, receive propaganda in a way that overwhelms people. It's just these were litmus tests, and it helps us know where people are at in their awareness, and it's not a judgment, it's just a neutral understanding. And then, inviting people to be able to admit to that they don't know what they're doing and they don't know what's going on. And that's where the mystery heals us, is we're paying attention to these stories, but they're just distractions, right? But they're opportunities to unbind from distraction, and they serve as that catalyst. And for some people, it consumes them. And for some people, it liberates them. And some people get stuck, trying to get out, but then they panic and go back to the information as a means to feel safe. Because it is terrifying to move into the lucid side of things where you're not needing to know what's going on in the world. It frees up your focus. You get to learn about tree consciousness and clouds and that everything is alive and communicating. And then you get eventually to go into other layers of the onion and have visions and speak to elders from the past who are no longer here. There's so much knowledge and it's not linear. We can go time travel eventually, as dreamers. So all these things are in a place to sort of shield us until we're ready to open our chakras up to that degree and be able to have those types of experiences.
I love that. It's all perfectly balanced, isn't it? I mean, we're living in a world, however big you want to, you can perceive that world, but it's just so perfect, and it's a perfect world of love. And you think, well, how can all these bad things and all this stuff happen in a world of love where there's so much potentiality? Where for me, it's like, oh my, I want to like bilocate before I pass out of this avatar.
Yeah.
I'm bilocation. I feel like I can do that. That's like one of my goals. Or to be like really fun. Um, but these things it's all there. It's like everything, all the lower, traumas and pain and suffering, and all the other is there. It's like you're saying, it's just what are you ready for in your life? What do you need? And if you think you're ready for all that, but it's not there, and you think like things are happening to you that seem so unfair, or any sort of subtle victim mentality, that's the thing to look at.
Yeah.
That's the tethering, right? I don't know what kind of words you use, in your thing, but it's like the tethering. As we cut those off, and it's, oh my God, we get freed up. And the trees, I love going out my garden. It's like my little babies, my little beings, that I'm raising.
Yeah.
We had this massive hailstorm here about 3, 4 weeks ago. I mean, for 45 minutes, it hailed like
Jeez.
the hail from hell. I said it came down like in just buckets. And at first they start like, oh my God, I'm worried about my garden, but I can't go out. And it's like, okay, it'll just pass. And it just kept going and getting stronger. And then pretty soon I cried. I'm like, all my babies are getting destroyed.
Yeah.
First, or I got mad. And then I like, no, I'm really sad. And I cried. And then it's like, well, there's nothing I can do about it. So I let it go. But when it's done, before it even had like fully stopped, I had my galoshes on, my raincoat, and I'm out there with my little babies, and they were just decimated.
Mm,
So the next day I made a little, and it broke my heart because I'm like, Mama, I made a
mm,
little rescue remedy little thing, and I went and I like put it on and talked to them and just to help them relieve their trauma. I mean, I felt their trauma. As Mama to the plants, they got traumatized, and so I did this little rescue remedy and all thing, and oh my God, my garden is giant again.
right.
It's just they came back like amazing.
Wow.
And so but it's love. It's the healing of love, and it's love for nature. And I walk around in my trees and I just love them.
Mm,
It's there's so much magic. I mean, this is a magical place. We just are either there to perceive it and or we're not. And there's so much more magic I'm not even like in touch with. I mean, there's just like the stuff you're talking about. One of the things Joel and I connected with really powerfully in Houston was I had somebody that I could talk about my out of body experiences that started happening as I was a little girl. So I've been very mystic in that way, but with no context and no training, nothing with it.
yeah.
So there's it, but it showed me like this magic that was available within me. So I don't know, I just kind of rambling about it, but it's just it's exciting. And people think this is a prison planet or you're locked in you're missing it. Just like, yeah, keep coming up, come on, keep coming
Yeah.
up, keep looking up because it's magic is everywhere.
Thank you. Yeah. So, I think that, I was appreciating what Jason said in the last talk I did with him was that if you're trying to get out of here and you don't want anything to do with this place and you're running from it, then this place is just for you, basically. Like that's what this is about, is getting to know your wounding. And so the soul trap thing has really consumed a lot of people, and it's really, really hard to come out of that once you've gone deep into those traps, those rabbit holes that are designed to keep you in a place of fear. And so it's really liberating to make connection to plants, to realize the earth is consciousness, to realize that you can have a direct communication experience with animals and plants. And for me, they're all the mother. All animals, you're looking in the eyes of the mother. All plants, you're communicating with the mother. Yeah, they have their own individual expression and their own things that they can offer with it as a unique awareness. So the redwoods are different, than the other part of the world. It's like they're different spirits, but it's all contained here in this magical realm that is very alive. And the Toltecs say that there are many layers to the Earth matrix. So we talk about the matrix as a negative, but there's the energetic matrix of the Earth. It's in a complete system, and this is just one of many of those layers. And our ability, like the Mayans, to go into other layers and stay there for periods of time, that might be what's coming for us, is our ability to focus on the same thing collectively in large amounts of people to where we create a unity. And through that mass, that singular focus, we can do incredible things together. We don't have to be trying to do it by ourselves. And I
Well,
think,
even if we can change the dynamics of this planet. I was talking with some of my girlfriends that I had over last night. We had a little crone party.
cool.
And and the people are all very different levels of beliefs and understanding and all of that. But the whole thing is that it can, a lot of them are just seeing like the a lot of fear and trauma that's going on right now. And I was trying to explain how collectively, like I look at the world right now and I look at all the crazy business, and it's just like, it's perfect. It's a perfect reflection of where humanity has been,
Yeah.
our consciousness. It's perfect with that. That's how we've been. That's the culmination. That's what that looks like, gang. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and we want that to look different, then we be different.
Mhm.
That's that is the thing there. And
Mm.
if enough of us we be difference, then we all come together, either not even, we don't have to know each other, but just the energies can just pool and it outweighs that. I mean, it's just simple science. I always like to break things down to simple. It's high pressure, low pressure systems. One moves the other one out. It's time you're gone because we're a higher vibration, it moves it out. And it's done. It is not a battle that has to happen. It doesn't have to, it's just can't exist when enough people shift the dynamics right here on this planet. And then then from there, where we can explore as a collective too. How exciting if we had like a planet that, when we evolve to the next level, what you can do has like groups of consciousness working together and in harmony with other ones and honoring all the different races and designs and specificity of these avatars and locations we come into and all of that. I mean, we're just so like, we just not even, we're like looking at the hem of that garment.
Yeah.
We're barely like the hem of her garment. There's just so much available here. And I don't know. And I think we came in right at this specific time for a specific reason. It's no accident that you, me, all people listening, everyone's here like right now, because it's this exciting, crazy time of change. Talk about honing your chops. Like right now, this is this is
Totally.
the time where you get to really, develop some spiritual muscle.
And yeah, and well, the Toltecs say that women used to intend evolution through their womb. And so we do have say, we are the creator force, an extension of it, and men offer a very particular balance to the feminine, and so they got brought in, but there was a time where it was all female here. And this brings in a whole nother challenge to be able to work with this, to bring in the man, the masculine. So we're learning to work together potentially as a means to do what the Toltecs did, was to create groups that balanced the masculine and the feminine. There needed to be both in order to achieve certain things. And so the potential is infinite. And what the Toltecs do is they say they're one of the few groups that uh, defy this parasitic predator energy by not giving it their fear and energy. So you learn to stop handing your power over to this thing that's higher on the food chain that most people let nibble off of their luminosity. When you stop letting that happen to you, you become the model of that action, and then the 100th monkey thing kicks in, and more people realize that they don't have to hand over their loosh essentially to these non-human forces, or maybe it's ancient AI or whatever's going on that we're interacting with. Something has found a way to consume people, like as if they're, just like
Dinner.
something to harvest.
Yeah, they're dinner. They're,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, so I laugh about it, but it's not, but I do it with a light heart
Yeah.
because it doesn't have to be a heavy, difficult thing.
Oh.
It's our burden is light. It's just true. The
Well,
Master Jesus said that is just true. It is, but you've got to learn about that, and reframe, your whole system to be able to step in that place. But you got to know it first, right, Joel? So if you don't know that something's nibbling away at your luminosity, which I love, that is just such a
mhm,
powerful imagery. If you don't know that, then what is nothing that you're not being asked then to do anything about it.
right.
It's
There's
when you
no,
start to know about it.
yeah.
That's when it's a game on, new game on,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But
Go ahead.
so maybe talk a little. Joel, I've been interviewing you now. Now, Joel, would you talk a little bit about the? I see, like, so let's forget about like the soul trap, the traps that people awakening can fall into, and it's one of them is the big one is the conspiracy theory
Yeah.
trap,
Yeah.
and I feel like it's like it's an important thing to understand these stuff, but keep going, you
Yeah,
know.
totally. Thank you. It's yeah, so it's these are important. Like it's just like what you're saying. At some point you need to come to terms with what's going on so that you can just relax into the fact that, well, that makes sense. If I can get to the heart of the issue, then I can understand why people are behaving the way they are. And I can suspend judgment because they're just not aware that they're being interfered with to this degree. And then yeah, I think the rabbit holes were designed to ensnare people, just like the deception model was designed to ensnare people. So whether you go in order to go through these stages, there really is kind of a blue pill, red pill, black pill, white pill process, essentially. Getting to the white pill is no joke, but the white pill reveals, and it's not a color race thing, it's just the white represents illumination and that it all is divine, that it's all love, and that this predator is actually in place to prepare us for our evolution. And if it wasn't here, we wouldn't be evolving in the way that we are. So we invited this dynamic in, and then, yeah, we've created stories that hijack our perception. We do need to go in and out of stories in order to understand our intuition and what resonates. And there's incredibly in-depth information that you can discover about vampires and sorcery. And it is very disturbing stuff to realize that these old school sorcery systems are still in place, that this is a world of power, that people steal energy from the youth in order to balance the fact that they have no innocence. You know, we're in a world that's very lost and confused because this predator is ruthless. It is completely willing to do anything and everything in order to get its food, and it's scared that it's going to get cut off. And when you're feeling fear, you're actually feeling its fear because it's going to try to stop you from freeing yourself because it knows that if enough people do that, courage will spread like wildfire, and they're relying on that fear to spread like wildfire. And so we're in a quagmire now. We're heading into a time where people are going to go berserk because it's going to become so their credit cards and all their things that used to keep them feeling secure are not going to make them feel secure anymore. The carpet's going to get pulled out from people's perception, and they're going to have to come to terms with their magical capacity to perceive things in a beautiful way. But the only way to see beauty is to see the terror. So the Toltecs say this is a world of terror and beauty, and the beauty balances the terror. So our shields or our tethers aren't not meant to be removed until we're ready and have a relationship with the mother.
Oh, it's so beautiful. You know, Joe, remember we were talking about I think we were in Houston, and also when we did our talk together, because we talked a lot about the masculine and the feminine, but we're also talking about ascension. And I feel like that's one of the potential traps is all this focus on people ascending out of here, and it's just like, you're gonna ascend out of here, you're gonna die. Sorry to
Yeah,
tell you, but we all ascend, and you can't stop that. But can you descend?
right.
That dissension is this like, and we think, oh, descending, oh, it's bad in darkness and all that. That's the womb. The dissension is into this have you fully like inhabited being you? In a
Right.
physical body, your physicality, instead of trying to get out of the physical and deny the physical, I'm transcending the physical because no, I don't need that because I'm above all that. It's like, no, I like be like sometimes I need a smoke or two, you know.
Yeah.
I light up a cigarette. It's, that's fine. I'll eat this or I'll do that, or I'll walk out for a little bit. And I'm just not getting into this dance and this thing of but I'm ascending and I got to get my light body and all that. It's like I am a light body. I am a light body, translated into
Yeah.
this dense avatar. But can I really be here? Can I fully embrace being me? Can I embrace like and walk out on the grass and it's like and the magic around me, the plants and the animals, that's dissension, you know. So I feel like that's like one of the trap things. And, I've enjoyed talking with you about that because you're right. Like your Elisa, it's where the two meet. It's not like you're not like a full descension, but it's the two. There's the dance of that.
Yeah, no, no, thank you. My teachers really emphasize this, that it's wonderful to go to other worlds and have experiences with your energy body, and then bringing that magic back and sharing it and contributing it here. And Carlos Castaneda said after all those worlds that he went to, so there's nothing like just being present here. So once you heal, then you just get to embrace the mother. And I really hope people can come out of this way of speaking about the darkness as negative. It is the yin is where we birth from. Toltecs go in and descend into the dark as a means to heal. It's silence and purification. And you learn to stay inside of the darkness, and you start to see colors. You start to see that the world is alive and everywhere and all times, and there's nothing like being held in the dark, to return to the
Mm.
womb.
I shared, and I won't go into a little detail because it's a highly personal experience, but the farthest out I ever went in my out of body travels, and I'd say I went back to source,
Yeah.
source energy. It was dark. I was in the womb of darkness. It was all dark. I didn't go back into the glow, basking in light. I was in dark, but it was velvety dark. It was love. It was just, but it was like the womb. It was pitch dark, and I just rested and I just curled up in the womb of love and I rejuvenated. And I really needed it at the time. It was probably life and death for my spirit, was why I was given access to that and consciously to be aware of that, traveling there and that experience and to recall it when I woke back up. But yeah, it was dark, beautifully dark,
Yeah,
perfectly dark.
totally. The Toltecs call it the dark sea of awareness.
Yeah.
And when they're always told when they go there is to tell others about this,
Mm.
because it's just that simple. Like we will return to it for sure, but we can go to it now. We don't have to wait for death. We can start to have a relationship with eternity, the infinite, and it's birthed out of the dark, and we are extensions of the sun as well. The Toltecs say we are pieces of the sun.
I
We're
love that. That's
completely
beautiful.
balance, yeah.
Yeah. We're
Mhm.
all of that. We're everything.
Yeah.
It's just it's all in here. I love when they show like in a microscope, and like the more you get deeper, deeper into all the layers, it literally looks like the universe. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference between that than looking up at the sky. It's like
Yeah.
universes within universes and universes, and there's something so profound and humbling, yet that humbling in a beautiful way, in that profound way. Just the connection. We don't, like, Joe, when I was younger, I want to like figure this out. Like, I want to understand, I want to figure out like what's really going on here. I'm figuring
Yeah.
this thing out,
Yeah.
and then the YouTube came out. And okay, well, by watching those videos, and we're gonna put it all together. What is our history? What is our this? What is our all this stuff going on? And I found, like, the older I get, like I just like I don't have the energy to figure it out, and I also have the wisdom. Is like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I nobody knows.
Nobody
Nobody,
knows.
you don't know. Whoever you think you like putting up on that pedestal, they don't know. It's like more than that. And to be okay with that, right?
Oh, very liberating. Yeah, the religious stuff is really hard. The Toltec says the hardest thing to free people is that they were raised in religion. It's just such a program, right? And so
Yeah.
really hard even for me to fully embrace the mystery and not need to know or explain things and put words to it, and or I rely on the Castaneda material so much that it could trap me if I don't, you know,
It can take you out of being right present right
yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there are wheels that have been invented. We don't have to reinvent the wheel, but sometimes you're called to reinvent a wheel. It's just about where you're at in your stage of learning and creating. And ultimately, if we can return to our imagination, our creativity, we will be laughing and crying and healing all the time. And there is a way to get strong enough to be that sensitive. And that's where you move beyond the five senses. Then you're not limited. You're moving into layers of communication with all of life. And yeah, biolocating, all kinds of things eventually happen. And we are in a time where if we don't remember what we are, things are going to get really tricky. Therefore, we will be remembering what we are because we can't cross there's a certain level of threshold that there's no coming back from, and we sense that. And so people like you and I and others, we're just giving each other permission to get really honest about what we feel. And then
Yeah.
from there, we can get super focused and reclaim our attention. If we reclaim our attention, we become the wizards and witches we always were, but in a way that is sober and balanced and not based on vengefulness or trying to swing the pendulum away from the patriarch all the way back into where women used to enslave men. Because that could happen if women step into their power. They have an advantage when it comes to the energetic side, and men have an advantage in the physical side. So we're not meant to not have a physical experience. The physicality is an illusion, but it's a convenience. And if we try to run from it, then we'll miss out on healing our temple. And our temple is the transformation, it's personal. And if you can empty your informed field of all the stories, then you become pure luminosity and you're no longer marked by your past. And then you become pure presence. You move into pure feeling and you start to become closer to the creator force in that it's experiencing all things at all times, all at once. So we're just making room for the magic.
Yeah. Joel, I like maybe you can just speak to this because there's been a part of me that is just so wanted to be like my prayer since I was a little girl. And excuse me using that word because some of you find offense. Maybe it's pray, but I'm just using that as
Yeah.
showing of a deep felt, desires, and my prayer was always, I just want to be who I'm meant to be. I just want to be me. Who is me? What am
Yeah.
I meant to be and to accomplish? And now I'm just like, and I always thought, oh, it's gonna have to, I'm reaching like the goal is this like the pure luminosity, the pure all this. And anymore, I just gotta give myself a break. It's like I feel like there's only so much time that I have. I don't know how much time I have on this planet. And I don't know, and I have a physical capacity, and I have literally a body, and this body has had a lot of damage to it, so it has its challenges. And then I have an emotional template, and then I have my mental and all these templates. I'm doing my best of expanding those and expanding and growing, but it's okay. Like for me, I've had to come to a place where that's okay if I don't get there. Like
Yeah.
maybe I can't, like in this life, there's like because I want that so bad. I want to be back in the truth of the ultimate potential. I long for that for me and for everyone around me, this ultimate potential. But I'm going to do the best I can and get as far as I can in this life, and it'll be okay, whatever that is, because I'll have another opportunity.
Yeah, we're all going to have an encounter with eternity when we cross,
Yeah.
and have some encounters prior and there are ways to have alternative forms of dying and we can strive toward the liberation from this system that could be allow the afterlife to be continuous rather than back in but yeah, we can't do anything more than what our best is. And if we're uh I watch a lot of people turn down invitations for adventures and experiences of the earthly realm because they're so focused on this afterlife thing, but that doesn't work. One gets to know themselves through the things that they like here. Toltecs don't avoid the world, they enter into it and get to know how to be amongst people and how to enjoy themselves immensely. They laugh and laugh and laugh, and they don't, sit there only in their dark closets, just like focusing on other worlds. They embrace this experience and they learn so much from it. They cultivate their awareness here. So there's so many opportunities for each of us, so many people to meet, so many places to go and so many things to fall in love with. But ultimately, we eventually can fall in love with our mere existence. And then everything just gets really incredible.
I love something you kind of like squeaked in there is about coming to about figuring
Mm.
out the things you like.
Yeah.
And I think that's like so important because that's what differentiates us in all the incredible iterations of being a human is our preferences and our likes, and to really embrace what you like. I found, like, when I don't even know if it was in a high school or college, and I don't know if I can't even remember if it was in a class or something, of writing this list of all the things I loved. And it was like page after page it. And I found this way later in life. Like, I wish I could find it again. I have no idea what I did with it, but it somehow I found it, like, as I don't know if I was maybe in my 40s or 50s, and I looked at it and it was almost like another person. It's like I forgot that, like, I'd gotten so
Mm.
separated from my natural
Uh,
preferences.
yeah.
And it was just kind of like a sad thing to see. In fact, it was like some sadness because I had come so far. Like some of the things, yeah, oh yeah, I love that, I love that. Other things, like, I love that, I
Wow.
didn't love that, I forgot I love that.
Cool.
It was just like it was like a bittersweet experience.
Oh, thank you for saying that. Yeah. Oh, I know. I cut myself off from what I liked to try to be accepted by shamans who didn't like the things
Mm.
I liked, and so their perception became my perception, and I lost myself so badly in that process of not wanting to be seen any, I was trying to be accepted or not left behind. It was like a cult stuff, right? So they like I had to change or I wouldn't keep up, and I totally got lost. And it took kind of going back into my child to get to know who I am, and in order to heal. So thank you for bringing that because there's so many things from our past that we left in the past that we didn't need to leave there. We can go reclaim it, and that's part of what the recapitulation is to balance our being.
Mhm. Yeah,
Oh,
because the irony is that the list was very long. And if I
yeah.
did a list nowadays, it's a much shorter list. But
Yeah.
what happened to all those things?
Yeah.
That's like, that was a pure expression. I'm still that me, you
Yeah.
know? But it got culled down over the years of what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, and what I'm afraid of, or judgments, and just all that kind of stuff has colored it. And I think that's probably true for most people. And that's what the world, that nipping away at our luminosity. I
Yeah.
love that. I'm going to have to use that joke because that's just, to me, I'm such a visual person. It's like, ooh, that's powerful. And I think it gets nipped away and we lose those, touch with all those parts of ourselves that's really ourselves. My challenge is, I'm making that list again.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's happening. I'm sitting down, I'm making that list, and I'm stretching myself into what I really like, and
Yeah.
remembering what all, yeah, and taking that list very seriously.
Inspiring. Thank
And
you.
with a light heart.
Yeah, yeah, have fun with it. And yeah, really, it's reflective. It's getting to know yourself and having a conversation with your inner child, and all that stuff is so healing and typically avoided. So thank you for bringing that to us. And so good to be with you today. Really appreciate it. However, anything you would like to share with the audience about where they can find you?
Absolutely. Okay, so I have my YouTube channel is the Rebel Crone, and I have different playlists on it. So I just want to call a specific attention to women out there that my new podcast is called Wisdom of the Modern Crone, where I interview beautiful crones and Rachel, who's helping women she helps women get set up for their crone years, the
Yeah.
work that she's doing. And that's like the power of what she's doing, because you can come into your elder years with your glass half empty or half full. It
Amazing.
depends on what your choices you make when you're younger. And I'm
Mhm.
telling you, if you come in with a half empty, it's a bear,
Yeah.
especially as a woman getting older. It's really tough coming into it filled up with the skills, like Rachel talks it. I know it's skills. I don't want to minimize what she does, but it's, really about bringing women back into authenticity, and so that's so important. But in the podcast, I am interviewing women that I feel like have accepted their crown of wisdom, which is the crone. It's the crown. It's not the old ugly hag, which all the disparaging things. This is the crowning glory of a woman's life is her elder years, because it all comes together. Yes, some things go by the wayside. We lose certain physicality things, but oh my God, what comes together is just so beautiful. So I'm highlighting my sisters and their life experiences and the gems that they would pass on to other women and men too. Wisdom. So you could find that. And then I do have a website, therebelcrone.com. And it's a beautiful website, but it's in developing all my offerings. And next year I'll start with some initiation classes or gatherings, crone initiations, because I feel like that's something I'd really like to bring back. It's something it's so lost, and I'm sure you're very familiar with in your work is the power of initiation and marking the different transitions we have in life. And I'm set up to really I want to honor the aging one, the crone one, and have it be ceremonially coming into focus and honored. And then so I have the things coming up. So I have working on my subscription part of my website where there'll be like deeper teachings of just the feminine, the femininity and aging and how we can age with purpose, grace, and power, which is my tagline. And I picked it for a good reason because our purpose is all about our authenticity. And as women, especially, we need to learn the art of grace because you can't talk to your man, you can't share your man and help him and mirror things back to him if you don't do it from a place of grace. It's very hard to receive. It takes a unique person to hear a bitter message or an angry message or a condescending message. And we tend to fall into that as women. So bringing back the art of grace, because that's femininity, is part of our power is to say things in a way that's, you know, that they can be heard and accepted. So that's an art. That's and then power. That's when how our power comes through as women, through our authenticity and learning the feminine way, the powerful feminine ways of grace. And so that's my mission right there. And you can always reach me at Elisa, which is Elisa at therebelcrone.com. And I'd be happy to speak with you and to, just share.
Oh, yeah. Well, highly recommend that you take Elisa up on that offer, everyone. It's really a magical being. I'm so glad we met. So glad we're gonna continue to work together. And I could see us co-facilitating things in the future and just really staying in contact and on all the levels. So thank you for being here. So such a powerful talk. Much love to
Thank
you.
you. Thank you, my brother.
Yeah, thank you everyone. All right, we'll see you soon. Much love.